Alright, welcome back to a brand new video. In this video, you're going to learn how to create a custom slash command that will create a new Zoom meeting that anyone can join. So the way that this command is going to work is in our Discord UI, we're going to go ahead and type /Zoom, and then we're going to go ahead and select the create option to create a Zoom meeting, and I'll just call this onboarding new employee, and I'm going to hit tab, and when I hit enter, it's going to go ahead and give us this embed message with this join meeting button. Okay, and then what's going to happen is when I click on this button, it's going to take us to Zoom, and then we can open up the Zoom meeting that was just created. And then anyone with this link or anyone that clicked on this link will be able to join the Zoom meeting. So this is a pretty cool feature that is common with many chat applications like Slack, for example. This is something that I use at work. So if this is something that you're interested in, feel free to watch the rest of the video to learn how to do this. So let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. So the very first thing that we're going to do is first, obviously, make sure you have a Discord server. I'm going to go ahead and go to our Discord developer portal. I'll create a new application and I'll just call this Zoom Meetings. Okay. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and create a bot user for this application. Whoops, there we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to need to save the bot token as well as the ID later. But we do need to authorize our bot to join the server, as well as be able to register slash commands. So we're going to go to URL generator. Let me zoom in. We're going to select two scopes, application commands, as well as bots. And then it's going to generate this URL for us. So when we go to this URL, we're going to go ahead and just authorize the application for our Discord server. So I'm just going to authorize it for this slash command server. Okay. And now this bot should be in our server. Okay, so now we can actually start to register slash commands as well as also handle slash commands. So we're going to go over to Zoom now, and we want to basically develop a Zoom application. This is actually going to be very easy. All you got to do is just make sure you create a Zoom account, log into the developer portal, and I want to go ahead and click on Build App, and this is going to take you to this page. Okay, and you're going to go ahead and select JWT, because we're going to build a JWT app, okay? Because we're going to use the JWT to make requests to the Zoom API, and that's how we're going to create the meeting. So I'll call this Zoom-Discord. And all we're going to do is, I'm just going to call this Anson. I don't know why they asked for a company name, but I'm just putting my name, Anson, or I'm just going to email. Okay, and then we'll click continue. And then what's going to happen is it's going to give you an API key, an API secret. But what's most important is you need the JSON web token to actually make requests to the API. And you can set a custom date of when you want it to expire if you want to. For example, if you want it to expire after 1 day, 1 week. You can also set it to expire like in a year if you want to. So for example, I'll do 0000 for the hour and minutes. And I'll do January 1st. I'm sorry, not January 1st. January 19th. 2023. Whoops. And this will generate it for us. You can set a custom time. Okay. So click copy. And what we're going to do. And also one more thing that I want to mention is you can also regenerate the API secret as well as the API key as well. If your JSON web token gets compromised, make sure you regenerate the API secret, because that's what's going to be used to actually generate the API key. Yeah, I think actually, no, I don't think it has anything. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so we'll click on, whoops, we're going to go ahead and click on copy, and we're going to need this for later. So now that we've created the Zoom app, we've created our Discord app, and we've brought the Discord app into the Discord server, let's go ahead and actually set up our application code. So I'm going to create a new directory. I'll call this Discord Zoom command. I'm going to cd into there. Whoops. Cd Discord Zoom command. And we're going to use TypeScript. So I'm going to just set up the project right now. So I'm going to initialize our folder. And I'm just going to open up Visual Studio Code. Okay. So that's going to open up our text editor for us. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just type yarn add. We're going to install a couple of dependencies. The first thing that we're going to do is install TypeScript as a dev dependency. And we will also install, let's see, .env as well. And we will also need other dependencies, but we'll install them later. I'll also need to install tsnode. And I'll also install nodemon in case, for those who are cloning the code that might not have nodemon installed globally, it'll use the local nodemon. Okay, I'm going to go into our code. We'll create a source folder, and we'll create an index.ts file. And I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and install Discord.js as well, but not as a dev dependency. So this is going to allow us to actually set up our application. Okay. The Discord.js is the library that we're going to use to interact with the Discord gateway, as well as the Discord library. We're going to use it to create our / command. Okay. So now that we have our Discord.js library installed, before we do anything else, let me also set up a tsconfig. So I'll just do tsc --init. Normally I would do this, but because I might have a different version of TypeScript. You can see I have globally version 4.3.5, but the latest version is 4.5.4. So I'm actually just going to do yarn tsc, which is going to use the local version of TypeScript, which you'll see, the local tsc command right over here. Okay. And so just in case if the config might be a little bit outdated, okay, so that's why I'm going to use the local version instead of the global tsc command. So I'll do yarn tsc --init. So this will create a new tsconfig for us. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and comment or uncomment out the, let's see, the outdir. I'm just going to change this to lib. So all the compiled TypeScript code will go inside this lib folder. And this is all will change. Okay. So we'll also set up a couple of scripts. I know there's a lot of setup, but don't worry, it's ridiculously easy. And that's why I'm kind of just speeding through everything. So we'll set up a start script. Or actually not start. We'll do start. Actually, yeah, we'll do start node ./lib. So that will start the compiled code. So this is kind of like a production script. We'll set up a start dev script, which is just going to utilize nodemon, which is what we're going to use. Okay. And then we'll also set up a build script as well. And that's just going to call the tsc command. Okay. So if I just do yarn build, it's going to run tsc, which is going to just compile our index.ts file for us. Okay. I can also do yarn start dev right now, and it'll just run our application. It'll run our index.ts file with nodemon. So when we make changes to our code, it's going to restart it for us, so we don't have to manually restart it. Okay, and I know that was a lot of stuff, but that's why I kind of sped up everything, because I didn't want to, I didn't want to like make the whole video all about setting up the project. Now let's actually get to writing the code. So what we're going to do is we're first going to go ahead and import the Discord client from the Discord.js library, and this is a class that's going to allow us to, we're going to create an instance of this class, and then we're going to actually interact with the Discord API. So we're going to first create a new client instance by invoking the client constructor. Now we're going to have to pass in client options, and this is mandatory. We're going to need to pass in a set of intents. So I think for now, the only intents that we'll really need, I don't really think we need much, but I will just opt into some for now. So to do that, I'm just going to first import the intents class. Okay. And, or is this actually a class? Or yeah, it's a class, but it has a static method, or not static method, it has a static property called flags, and we can just specify the flags we need. I'm going to specify guilds. Let's see. Guild messages. And I think we might need interactions. I don't think we need interactions actually. Though one thing that I will mention is that after I'm not sure when exactly, but I know there's a certain date that Discord is going to start requiring intents for the message event, I think. Let me actually see if I can show you right over here. Yeah. So message content intent. So Uh, After April 30th of 2022, so literally in about 3 months from now, you're going to need to enable message content intents in order for you to actually do stuff with a message with messages. Okay. Um, so I just wanted to mention that. Okay. So yeah, I think these are all the intents that we'll need for now. But I don't really think we need any. But I just wanted to opt into them. So now we just need to log the bot in. Now we did install .env. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file called .env. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set 2 environment variables, or I might set 3 actually. So we're going to set the bot token environment variable. We're going to set the Zoom API environment variable. And I think that's all we'll need for now, actually. Yeah, there's only 2. So let's actually go back to the developer portal. Now, if you saved it already, that's good, but I'm just going to go back to the developer portal because I didn't save it anywhere. So I'll go ahead and grab my bot token for our Zoom meetings bot, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the JSON web token that we created on the Zoom app. So I'll copy that. And it's okay that I'm showing you guys this because I'm going to go ahead and regenerate it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, but just make sure you practice keeping these in environment variables and don't commit them to a public repository because then people will compromise your API keys. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and import the config function from .env. And we're going to call this function. And what this is going to do is it's going to load up all of our environment variables. You do need to make sure the .env file is at the root level of your project. Okay. So now when we go ahead into our application, we can actually reference those environment variables that we created. So if I want to reference bot underscore token, you'll see in the console. If I run this again, we should see the token in the console. Okay, so now let's actually do this. Let's go ahead and log the bot in. So we'll call client.login, and we'll pass in the bot token. And we're also just going to register the ready event so we know that the bot is ready. So let's go ahead and look at the console, and you're going to see it says bot has logged in. And if we look at Discord, our Zoom meetings bot is online. Okay, so what's next? So right now we need to register the slash command. Okay, we need to register the slash command for our guild. Now, how do we do that? So in the last video, I showed you how to do that using Postman by just making a direct HTTP call to the gateway, or not the gateway, to the API. But we're gonna do this using the Discord.js library because they actually have those methods encapsulated for us. So we can do that by just calling client.application, and we can just call, or not call, reference commands, right? And what we can do is we can actually just call this create method, okay? And if you actually just call create and pass in like the properties for creating the command, this will create a global command. But if you pass in the guild ID, there should be an option where you can pass in a guild ID. Yeah, so we can pass in a guild ID and then we can pass in the options. So for now, I'm going to do this at the guild level because remember, if we register global commands, it's going to take a very long time to update. So just for testing purposes, we'll just pass in the guild ID. And then, oh, wait. I think we need to pass in the guild ID at the end. There we go. Okay. So we'll just hard code the guild ID for now. So let's go ahead and just pass in the name. And I'm just going to just show you how this is going to work. Test example. Okay, and then we need the description. Test command. Hello world. And you're going to see that when the bot logs in, what's going to happen is it will create the command for us. And then you're going to see that our command should be registered. There you go. We have Zoom meetings right over here. We have 2 applications, but don't get confused. This is the one that was just created. And there you go. Now, obviously, this is not the command that we want to create. We want to go ahead and create a Zoom command. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that using the Discord.js library. So it's going to look exactly the same way that we did with Postman. So I'm going to just create I'm going to set the name to be Zoom, and I'll set the description to be something like, let's see, create, search, or schedule Zoom meetings. So if I go ahead and look at our application, we should see that Zoom command now. Okay. Now, the nice thing about this API, the Discord API, is that we can keep calling the create endpoint as many times as we want, and it's not going to actually, it's not going to throw an error. It's just going to update the command for us. Okay. So for example, if I want to pass in options, I can do that. So this is just going to be an array of options. So we're going to go ahead and set the options to be the same that we did with with Postman. So the type will be a string, okay? And I think what we don't want any choices. Really, what we're just going to do is we're just going to allow them to just, let's see, I think the name of this is going to be create. Okay, so we actually need a description as well. So I'll just go ahead and say create a new Zoom meeting, and then type will be a string. Okay, and yeah, we don't need any choices, so we'll leave it alone. So if I go back to the Discord Discord client, you can see that we have an option where we have create. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it so that we can actually pass in a value. So for example, create, and we can pass in a value, which is there already. So this is just going to be the name of the Zoom topic meeting. So I'll just go. So for example, it'll look something like, meet up with new Discord moderator, for example. And if I hit tab, and when I hit enter, what's gonna happen is it's gonna go ahead and we're gonna have to make it so that we can respond to this interaction. Okay, so for now, we're only going to implement the create option. We're not going to do anything else with this command. So now that we have the command registered already, I'm just going to go ahead and comment this out. Okay, this is kind of like a hacky way to do it, though there's probably a better way to do this anyways. But like I said, I just wanted to do that just for now. Okay, so now that we have this create option, and we can just pass in an argument, we now need to actually handle the interaction. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to go ahead and listen to the interaction create event, and this takes in a callback function, which is an interaction type. Okay, so this interaction type, there can be multiple different types. Okay, so there's an application command type, autocomplete type, and there's also a message component or ping. Now the one that we're concerned of is if it's an application command. Okay, because remember we're dealing with chat input, which are just slash commands. So what we're gonna do is let me just show you what happens when I console log interaction. Okay, so let's go ahead and use our command, and I'm going to show you in the logs what's going to happen. I'm going to hit send, and you're going to see that in the logs we actually are logging out the command interaction object, and you can see that we have all of the information about the interaction. It tells you the type, so it's an application command, the ID, the application ID, the channel ID, so the channel that this command was sent in, the guild ID, the user, and everything that you might possibly need. Okay, what's most important is we actually need to get the options. Okay, so let's first go ahead and check to see if interaction.type is equal to application command. Okay, so now we can assert that this interaction is actually an application command type. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call this app interaction, I guess, or command interaction. And I'm going to go ahead and just cast this interaction to be a command interaction type. So now I should be able to reference the options property. Okay, because especially if you're using TypeScript, it's not going to allow you to reference options because because we need to cast it first. Okay, so let me go ahead and console log command application, just so that we can keep track of where we are in the logic. And I'm going to log the options and show you what that looks like. So let's do /zoom create, and we'll set the topic of that to be hi. Okay. And if I can look at the logs, you're going to see that we can get the options literally right over here. Okay. So how do we get the options? So what I'm going to do is inside our code, we'll go ahead and after options, we can actually just call .get, and we can just literally get the value for this create option. Okay. So let's do this. Well, let's first do this. We want to make sure that we are handling the correct command. So what we'll do is we'll check to see if command interaction dot command name is equal to zoom, and if it is, then we'll continue. Okay, so then we can go ahead and just get this option, because like I said, we need to make sure we know what command it is. Then we can assert that we'll actually get this value for this create option. Okay, so let me go back into Discord and let me show you what happens now if I use the create command. So if I look in the logs, you can see that we get the value. And so to get the actual value, all we got to do is just call dot value like that. Okay, so and remember, this value is the topic of the Zoom meeting. Okay, so we'll just call this topic. Okay, and if value for some reason is undefined, we'll just go ahead and just use the or symbol, and we'll just say new meeting created by, and we can actually do it similar to how Zoom does it. It'll just show the user, or it'll just say which user created the created the meeting. So what I'll do is inside our code, let me actually make this a template string, and we'll do $, interaction dot user dot tag, and that should be who the user created the interaction. Okay, who the user was that initiated the interaction. Okay, so let's go ahead, and before we actually call Zoom, before we actually call the Zoom API, I want to show you how we can reply to this interaction, so that way you'll know what we can actually do before we actually interact with the Zoom API. So what we can do is we can reference command interaction, and we can call the reply method. Okay, and we can pass in a set of options. The first thing that we'll do is we'll pass in an embed. We're not going to pass in a regular string text message. We'll just pass in an embed, and we'll set the options for the embed. So for example, if I want to set the author, I could. If I want to set the title of this, I could. The title of this will just be the topic. So I'll just pass in topic like that. Though for some reason, let me just assert this to be, or not assert, but just cast as a string, because it's complaining about this. TypeScript is a little bit annoying sometimes. So we'll set the title. For the description, what we'll do is we'll set like the we'll set like information that was retrieved from the Zoom API. So we'll leave the description new Zoom meeting like that for now. Okay, if you want to set a color, you can do that if you want to. Let me set it to be a dark aqua color just for now. You can also set a footer too, but we'll leave it alone for now. I want to move on to what's most important, to what's most exciting, and that's components. So what I want to do is I want to basically add a button. And so in order to add a button, we need to add that inside an action row, is what it's called. And the action row is really just a container that allows you to add components inside of it. So you can add buttons, you can add, I think, drop them minis as well. So we need to make sure we add an action row first. So in order to add the action row, we need to first, inside this components array, we need to specify the type to be an action row. And then we can specify another components property inside of this object. And we can then add our button. So type is going to be, it should be a button like that. Okay. And then what we want to do is we want to go ahead and set the, actually it shouldn't be button actually. It should actually be a button link, or no, sorry. We need to set the style to be a link. So there's actually different types of method or buttons. So there's danger button, there's link, primary, secondary, and success. So if you want to set a primary button, it'll just have a different color. I think it's like a bluish color, I think. But we want a link, so we're going to set it to be a link. And then for the label, we'll just, this is going to be what the button text is going to be. So we'll just call this join meeting. And then for the URL, we're gonna actually have to get the URL from the Zoom API, but for now I'm just gonna set this to be Google Doc. We'll just do this. We'll just do Discord.com. Okay, and that's literally all we're gonna do for now. Now let's go back into our console and let's go ahead and interact with Discord and let's see what happens. So let's do create hello world meeting, and you can see that we literally get our embed message back, and you can see that it gave us back the correct title, the new Zoom meeting, and notice how we typed hello world meeting, and that's what the title is. If I click on join meeting, it's going to take me to discord.com. Okay, but obviously what's going to happen is when we click on this, it will take us to the Zoom meeting. Okay, so now let's actually go ahead and call the Zoom API now, so that way we can actually create the meeting programmatically, and then we can go ahead and allow the user to join the meeting. So in order to call the Zoom API, it's actually ridiculously easy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just create, what I'll do is let me actually remove all of this stuff because I'm not going to need that anymore. And I'm just going to keep everything, actually I'll create a separate file. I'll call this api.ts. And I'll just, first thing we'll have to do is install Axios, which is an HTTP client. So we'll do yarn add Axios because I have not installed that yet. So this is going to allow us to make HTTP requests. And let me also add the types. Okay. And then we're going to go into our api.ts file and we'll go ahead and import Axios from Axios. And we're going to go ahead and create a function called create Zoom meeting. And this is going to take in one parameter, which is the topic. You can pass in other parameters if you want, but for now we'll leave it as topic. Because you can also do stuff such as scheduling the Zoom meeting as well. Okay, but we're not going to worry about that for now. So we'll go ahead and do axios.post. Now we're going to need the Zoom API URL. So the URL for that is actually just going to be, I'll get that for you right now. So the Zoom API URL is just api.zoom.us/v2. So let me just copy that as the base URL. So const Zoom API URL. Okay, we're also going to need the API key. Let's not forget that. So let me go ahead and grab that from process.env. Right over there, we'll do structure from process.env. Okay, remember that's the JSON web token that we got from the Zoom portal. Okay, so the endpoint that we want to call is this meetings endpoint. And what we're doing is we're creating a meeting for ourselves, right? Well, actually what's happening is we're creating the meeting using our own user, right? So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and pass in for the user ID, we'll pass in me instead. Okay, but if you want to build a more robust application, what you could actually do is you can actually allow the user to authenticate using Discord OAuth 2, and then you would know who that user is, and then you can have them connect Zoom with their account. So that way, now that they have Zoom connected, they can then create Zoom meetings. Okay, because right now what this will do is this will actually create the meetings on behalf of yourself, which you may not want. So what's better is you have the user authenticate with both Discord and Zoom, and then you can actually use their access token to create Zoom meetings instead of using a JSON web token. I just figured I'd mention that in case people would want a solution for that instead. So let's go ahead and just pass in the Zoom URL now. And we're going to go ahead and pass in slash, it's going to be slash users, slash me, slash meetings. And then we're going to have to pass in a request body. And the only thing that we're going to have to pass in is just the topic. You can pass in other stuff too, such as the start time, the time zone, password, etc., etc. We're not going to do any of that. And for the headers, we will need to pass in the authorization property and a bearer token, which is just the JSON web token. Is it Zoom API? Yeah, it's Zoom API. That's the name of it. Okay, cool. All right, so now whenever we use this command, what we'll do is if the command is equal to Zoom, we'll get the topic, and then we'll go ahead and just literally call create Zoom meeting, pass in the topic. And because we're using await, we do need to make sure we're inside an asynchronous function. So I'm going to add the async keyword in front of our callback function. And I'm going to go ahead and just get the data. And I'm just going to rename this variable to be meeting. Before we do anything else, let me go ahead and console log the meeting object just so you can see what is returned for those of you who are interested to see what we can actually do with the Zoom API. So let me go ahead and right now, let's go ahead and do Zoom create hello world. Okay, so if I go into the console, you're going to see that Zoom gave back all of the information. And you can see that it gives you the host ID, the host email, the topic, the type, status. And like I said, this is not a Zoom tutorial, but I encourage you to go to Zoom's documentation and look this up all on your own. The most important thing that we really need from this is just the join URL. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to reference meeting.joinURL, and we're going to pass that into this URL property, so that way when the user clicks on the button, it'll just take them to that Zoom meeting. So go and do meeting.joinURL. And if you want other pieces of information too, let's say if you want like the time zone, the duration, the start time, the topic, you can literally just reference all of those properties and just put it inside the embed message any way you want. Okay, so for example, let me just go ahead and do this real quick. So you can see now we have the meeting, and if I go ahead and click on this hyperlink, you can see that it'll take it to the Zoom meeting, and now it's going to go ahead and prompt you to open up the Zoom meeting. I'm not going to open it up, but obviously if you've used Zoom before, well, actually let me just open this. So this should open up Zoom. Okay, so you can see that now I can actually open up Zoom, and anyone that joins this Zoom meeting, anyone that clicks on it will be able to join. Okay, so that is pretty much it for this tutorial. I really hope you guys liked it. I know it's a very long tutorial, but I thought it was a pretty cool thing to do a tutorial on because I saw Slack had this feature with Zoom and WebEx. And that's something that I use at work a lot. So I thought it'd be pretty cool to show you all how to integrate this in Discord for those who might be interested. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next episode. Peace out.